Hi there, I'm Rob, welcome to Rob's Models, and today you're going to have a look, a bit of an unboxing, a bit of a review of my next build, which is going to be this, which is, so you can see it a bit better, it's an Eduard FW190A-8/R2. It's 1:48 scale, and this is the ProfiPACK edition, which means it should have a few extra little bits in there. So, lovely bit of box art. I mean, that's you can see a good bit of box art there. Straight onto the side, you can see, and this is a good thing with Eduard, we've got 5 different decal options. Part number, or kit code is 82145. That's 82145. Come around on the edge, getting quite close in there. You can see the 5 different options we got there. And, pretty much standard box, yeah, same there. So let's have a look in the box. Oh, what I will say is this edition was released in 2019, and it's actually based on the original moulding, I believe, which was done by Eduard in 2017, but it does say new parts. What I'm guessing that's probably going to be is some of the extras that Eduard's like to put in, so shouldn't need to do any aftermarket, because normally you buy your aftermarket from Eduard, they're doing it. So what have we got? I will admit I have opened this box before, although I really can't remember what was in there. It was more of just to have a bit of a look through. So, instruction book, and that is actually quite a hefty book, 16 pages there, but you can see we've got a few stencil details and different camouflage options there. So let's have a look through that in a moment. Got some 2 bags with, that looks like in total 5 sprues, not including the clear parts. Decal sheets, 2 decal sheets actually. Only the one little bit of photo-etch there. We'll have a look at that in a moment, but that's instrument panels and seat belts, the kind of standard things that you buy your aftermarket bits for. And a little thing of tape, that's going to be the pre-cut masks, which is useful. Let's have a look at the instruction book first. So bring you in a little bit closer on this one. That might even be a bit too close, but you can see we've got a good lot of information about this one here. Open this up, and I think actually I'm going to have to zoom you back out again just so you can see that. Oh, and of course, actually, if you go on to robsmodels.co.uk, I'll be taking photographs, and you can see the higher resolution photographs, not only of this sort of build, but of the review, but also the build. But let's kick in first of all. You can see we've got the sprues telling us which parts are getting used, which parts aren't getting used. So you've got a few different props, a few different, basically for a few different versions. Eduard likes to make one moulding of things and have it can be used for a whole host of different variations of the same kit. Mask, photo-etch we know. So looking at this, there's going to be typically some of the parts going to need to do a bit of a modification in order to accept the aftermarket parts on there by the look of it. But standard things, start with the cockpit tub, and actually I have to say the way that this comes together actually does remind me of the 1/72 Airfix 190 I built a few years back. So there we go, we can see we're just building the instrument panel, fuselage halves come together, got to do a little bit of drilling out there, spar coming across, and that spar's got detail on because that's going to be obvious from the wheel wells. And then, I mean, it's just standard how most kits like this come together. Once the fuselage is done, goes onto the wings. The wings are laminated, so we've got one large cross member there, or the bottom goes right the way across. Top parts are halved, and in there we're putting in our wheel well bits. Comes together. Looking at that, we've got separate flaps or ailerons. Always get the two confused. What we have also got, one thing I've just rushed through, is no engine, which actually I don't mind on this one. I've done the Tamiya 109 with the 8-pin engine. This one, you've got, looks just the radial engine, but just the front piece. so no option to open up and display, which actually is fine with me because I'm not actually planning to on this one. I want a detailed kit, but similarly one that I can actually build quite quickly to get my mojo back, which hopefully this Eduard kit should fit. Wheels actually look quite good in the way that actually you don't need to mask the wheels. You can paint the tyres separately, then put the hubs in, comes together. I mean, it actually does look quite, I can't really say much more. It is how you would expect a 190 to go together. Prop goes on, and then little diagram just so you can make sure that you get your wheels on, you know, get the camber, get them towed in correctly. Got the mask, using the mask for the canopy. I have noticed due to the curves going on there, you're going to need to fill in. So you can see it goes up to the edges, but you're going to need to get a bit of mask or a bit of latex mask to fill those in. And then we come looking at ordnance. Well, actually the ordnance is actually just going to be a fuel tank on the centre pylon. We'll say centre pylon, yeah, just drops in there. So no external bombs, just the internal machine guns. Let's look at here. Let's bring it back in again. So this does look quite nice with the mottling. Problem is with about I often find with the German Second World War things is, yes, it's quite useful that they have the standard sort of colours, but they are quite sort of various shades of grey with a hint of green and a hint of blue in. That's the one on the box art, and I've got to say what is quite nice with it is it's kind of a bit hidden there, but you do have like this lightning flash. However, that lightning flash is black and white, so I don't know how well it's going to stand out, but no real sort of colours on there. Some of these, you've got the yellow, actually this one you've only got the yellow on the chin just for the maintenance panel, but again, standard sort of colour options, and again mottling here. This one, got the red, got a bit of red and yellow on there, so starting to get a bit more colour in. Got a bit of blue on here. These are all various versions based in Germany in 1944 to 1945 by the look of it. One's a bit of blue, one's a bit of red. To be honest, I would actually say with this it's going to be a case of, if you're particularly drawn to one in particular, then great. I might just go for one with you know, if there's a reason why you want to go for one, but I'll probably pick one with a bit more, just a bit more colour. Just think sometimes something like that, possibly this one, just because the red and the yellow just makes it pop on the shelf a little bit more. And then on the back, we've just got our stenciling. So, going to be kind of standard sort of stencils for most of that and individual ones. So yeah, that looks as we would expect. Talking stencils, let's just have a quick look at them in a little bag here. So I believe there's two in there. So this is going to be your standard stencils for your typical 109, and it's got a little bit of paper. Actually, I've got to say, in years of modelling, this is the first time I've actually had a kit where the protective paper has actually stayed on. So we can see you've got the little walkways, and again, high resolution pictures will be on robsmodels.co.uk. When you're on there, just do a search for the FW190. But that's all done. These are, I believe, are printed by Eduard themselves, so they do feel a little bit raised, but they do feel in register, and I'm sure, say raised, not as bad as some of the Tamiya ones. Sure, a little bit of extra set, extra sol, they'll be fine. Not a huge amount of colour, but everything is all in register. And have a look at these. One thing I have noticed, actually, I'm going to just peel that off, is, for example, those bands going around the fuselage, you've kind of got the little marking, so you haven't actually got the decal to do the whole banding. You'll have to mask and paint that. However, the more smaller detail, the little lines that go over, you have no, I was just going to say no swastikas there, but interesting what they've done here. There's a line that can be cut off, so if this is getting sold in the country where the swastikas are actually banned as swastikas, the manufacturer or distributor can just chop there and remove that section, and then you can make them up yourself by just jigsaw puzzles, so you've got the outsides and the innards. That's quite a clever way to do that. But again, nicely printed. They do feel a little bit on the thick side, but not as thick as some of the ones that I've seen, but they are all actually in register. They are quite muted, but that should actually work quite well. Next up, we will do, actually let's just do the little bag of photo-etch first, just because that's there. Standard sort of parts, so instrument panel which looks laminated, side panels, that is actually printed very nicely. Harnesses and a few other little bits that actually will add quite a bit of detail, and it's also coloured as well. So actually it's really mainly to add to the cockpit. I think there's one or two other little bits there, but that should add quite a bit of detail to the cockpit, especially if you're going to be displaying it with it open. And let's get on to the plastic. We'll do the larger part first. So let's look at the wings first. So lower parts, and immediately I can see, I'm just seeing if I can get it catching the light, there's a lot of very fine riveting detail on there. In fact, so fine I cannot even feel it. I'm going to rub my finger over, whether it's raised or lowered, that just feels absolutely smooth. However, there's a lot of detail. If it is really that fine, I'm going to have to be really careful with the paint and put on very thin layers of paint so you don't lose that. But I can't even tell if those rivets are recessed. I mean, they are. I'll feel it, but you cannot feel. If I rub my finger over, it just feels I'm rubbing over smooth plastic. So that is very nice. And quite fine engraved recessed detail, which should take washes quite nicely, and a lot of riveting detail on the top. Quite good solid plastic as well, so that looks good. Pleased with that. And again, on the side detail, again, plenty of rivets, plenty of detail hidden away in there. I say hidden away, sort of, because it's really cannot feel it. That feels smooth, apart from just the major part. So that's good. No sort of detail, actually I was going to say on the side walls, but obviously that's going to be getting built up separately. Pleased with that. Next bag. In here we have got clear sprue. We'll come to that one separately. That's a bit annoying, I don't know if you can hear that. Something's rattling in there, we'll find out in a minute, but that's a good reason for putting them in the bags. We have 1, 2 and 3 sprues. Let's look at each of these, no particular order. And we do know that some of these parts aren't actually going to be getting used anyway for this particular build. But instead of trying to work out which one I'll be using, we'll just look at it all. It seems quite shiny. I'm not too sure whether it's kind of that just. I don't know if it's got kind of a bit of the release agent on it. I don't think it's actually got the release agent, but it just might have a very thin, this particular one. And it might just be worth just giving it a clean off before putting primer on there. I never bother, I always say I should and I never bother, and if you're using primer it doesn't make too much difference. But going back to it, so you can see we've got our separate flaps. That's actually some quite nice detail. Very, very deep on the drop tank there, but that might be how it is. It just feels deeper than it was on the Tamiya kit. A few different versions for the upper fuselage, but again, some very fine riveting detail on the gear doors. Some nice little raised bit of detail just on those flaps. So whereabouts there would be some raised detail, there is. That's looking good. Next sprue. So we've got a couple of props there. We'll have to work out which one we use. We've got the spar, so that's not only going to be helping to display the internal parts for the wheel well, it is probably going to be actually adding strength to it. So yeah, things like on the landing gear struts, you've kind of got spring, some actually quite fine detail going on there. And also on the front of the engine, the cooling vanes on that radial engine, that is actually very fine. get some metallic paint on there, put a dark wash in there, that's really going to pop out actually. So although it's going to be a bit hidden behind the prop and the spinner, it should actually should come out quite nicely. And you can see we've got the lightning holes in some of those wheel well parts. Overall, that looks quite good. Last, the main sprues. This one's probably the most busiest out of all of them. Lots of little parts. I don't think quite a few of these are used. I think some of these are sort of braces where if there was going to be munitions, which there aren't. I mean, everything is done well. It's done quite basic, but at the same time, when you look in on it, there is some very fine detail. So side panels, side consoles. And now some of these might need to lose some of that detail to file down to replace with the photo-etch part. But the kit part count isn't hugely high. However, what there is in there is actually well detailed. And we'll come to finally. Looks like we've got a windscreen which has come loose, but again, lucky this has been bagged up, and fortunately there's two options here. At least I know that would be the one that goes there, so they would both come off. But we've got two windscreens at the front and 1, 2, 3, 4 different canopies. Yeah, you should have good vision into the cockpit even if you've got the canopy closed. There we go indeed, and that is a quick review and unboxing of the Eduard, what's that? That's going to be the FW190A-8/R2. Just want to do something where I'm going to end up with a good kit at the end of it with a high level of detail, but something that is actually going to be a little bit more simple to build, so I can actually concentrate on having fun and getting that detail in there, rather than just spending hours and hours and hours just working on some real small details, which I know I've got some kits where I'm going to be doing that. So I've been Rob. If you've enjoyed that and you want to catch up with the build, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the like, I really do appreciate it. Put something in the comments, I do try to get back to everyone. Hope you've enjoyed that. Happy modelling, and catch up with you soon.